now, but in a few minutes. I'll tell you.
Okay.
That's real. Thank you. Have you ever lit the candles here?
Not here.
All right. Oh, wait. Oh, the thumbs up. I wasn't even paying attention. Oh, there they are. I have the thumbs up. My friends, Shabbat Shalom. We have an intimate sort of early summer circle for Shabbat here at CRC. I think it was like 85 degrees today. So, but we're in here in the shade and cool. Come join us. Come join us. And we are, everyone that is here, it's a blessing that you've come, and everyone who's watching on the stream, we're grateful and we're glad to see you. Or I guess we're glad you're seeing us, because we really can't see you. Maybe Autumn can, because Autumn's kind of like has wizardry going on, but we can't see you. Anyways, it's Shabbat. It's also Passover, so Chag Sameach. And it is actually the seventh day of Passover, meaning that for the Reform world, or not every individual Reform Jew, but for the Reform world, Passover ends tonight. So those people who are observing Passover and observe the Reform sort of way of observing Passover can eat bread tonight after the sun sets. Some people like to kind of go the traditional route of 8 days. I should say the diaspora traditional route, because in Israel it's always 7 days. We'll wait till tomorrow night. But in any event, I hope it's been a good and meaningful and liberating Passover. We had a couple wonderful seders here. Saturday night, the first communal meal at CRC in over 2 years. We had about 80 people for the second seder. And then just Wednesday night, we had our really amazing seder, protest seder in support of trans kids. And so we've kind of done our obligation to move whatever way we can from oppression to liberation. And we come here hopefully as more liberated spirits, ready to have a Shabbat of wholeness and of love and of being our best selves. So let's do a little singing to kind of breathe and make a joyful sound and allow our spirits to be vocalized. You can sing along at home as well. We have these sets of words on page 4. We sing often on Friday evenings to begin Shabbat. First is a nigun, a melody with no words, just lai. You don't even have to look at any book or, hey, Stan, come on, join us. So this opening melody, you can just close your eyes or keep them open and just kind of, whatever is inside of you can kind of come out in sound. And then we've got 2 sets of words that follow. The nigun, one set of words from Isaiah, and the other from the book of Psalms. Hey guys, welcome. Here we go, all right. Yailai, 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 try that again like this. You guys are sounding good. Keep it up. Yailai, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la la, la la. Come on in, Karen. Ya la la la. Says in the book of Isaiah, they shall come to my holy mountain and rejoice in my house of prayer. My house shall be a house of prayer for all people. My house shall be a house of prayer for all people. And they shall come to my holy mountain and rejoice in my house of prayer. My house shall be a house of prayer for all people. My house shall be a house of prayer for all people. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is and how pleasant when we sit together in peace and in friendship and love and in harmony. In harmony. Hine matov umanayim. That's not harmony. Shevet achim gam ya. That's discordancy. Hine matov umanayim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Amen. It's nice. Everyone sounds so good. Had a conversation today. Kind of talking about congregational life and talking about COVID and its impact, but also even somebody was seeing our sanctuary for the first time and sort of remarked kind of on its simplicity. And congregations come in all shapes and sizes, and cuts across religions. One of the things that I kind of said was, I really feel like the 60s, the 1960s, the ethos of the 1960s really they didn't change all institutions, but they made an impact on all institutions, including religious congregations. And some weren't as impacted by the 1960s as others. But I think this sort of style, I think people have been to synagogues where the bima is way up high and everybody sits way far away, and that works for some people. It really does. For some people, really, that's spirituality for them. And and again, the 60s is now a long time ago, but there was this sort of democratization of institutions that affected lots and lots of areas of life, including synagogues. And so you see that in some places, including this place, an attempt to. We're not always this intimate, but I think there's for some people, their spirituality is expressed through intimacy and not sort of grandiosity. Again, no judgment really, just sort of an observation. So I'll leave that there, and maybe that's a sermon maybe I'll work on. But I do want to light candles. They're over there. They feel far away now that I'm over here.
Yeah, you could bring them over. We can move.
Yeah, we could, but I don't know.
But you're the rabbi.
But Talmudically, I'd have to kind of ask for 3 or 4 different opinions.
You get them whether you ask for them or not.
Right, well, that's true. Let's keep them over there because that table's so heavy. So anyway, those candles, actually, I believe were lit Yontif Saturday night, right, for the second Seder, and we figured, hey, They look good. They're still good. Let's burn them tonight for Shabbat. So I asked Keegan earlier if you would be willing to. Well, oh, are you bowing out? Would you want to bring someone with you? Look at that. Tell us your name.
Monica.
Annika, who's here from California.
Yeah.
And who's
Well, I'm living in Iowa right now, but I go to Temple in California. It's complicated.
Okay. But you're in St. Louis right now.
Yes.
And Annika's going to join Keegan over there, way over there, to light candles. So go ahead, you guys. And Keegan reminded me I was blessed to be part of Keegan's mikvah a year ago. Wow, amazing. Right in the height of COVID, we went to the mikvah. Oh, you were probably one of the first mikvahs. Got it, I remember now. So we did your baked in virtually, right? And then we showed up in person, which was a real blessing. So we're still on page 4. Everything I did was on page 4. And we're still on page 4. But as Keegan and Annika light the candles so that we can kind of bring Shabbat, even though it's still light out, by the time we're done, the sun will have set and we'll have brought Shabbat into this moment. We'll sing this song on the bottom of page 4, a little bit of a kavanah for candlelight. It gives you a little time to light those candles. And let the light bring... No, I don't have anything. I have nothing.
It's right here. Is that?
Wow. It was the angels, everybody. It's the angels. I like that ringtone.
Yeah, sounds good.
Whose phone is that? I feel like there's a message coming to us that we need to figure out.
I know that phone wasn't there 3 minutes ago.
All right, well, let's sing. You guys are like, come on, we're standing up way too long. Hear our prayers as we light these lights. Hear our prayers, we sing to you. Be gracious to the ones we love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear our prayers to you. Let us light these lights and see our way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see our way to you, and let us say Amen. So thank you for lighting those candles, and let's spread that light around all the places and people that need extra light. Karen, sending you some light, on this yard site for your wonderful sister. May her memory be a blessing. And for all the reasons we want to bring more light into our own lives and into the life of the universe. We spread that light around as Andrew sings, and then there's always enough to go around. Even when we don't realize it, we don't see it, there is always more light. Light of Shabbat, light of Yom Tif, the light of Passover, the light of love. Bring it into your own heart and soul. Having spread that light around, there's still enough to bring to you to allow yourself to really and truly be your very best self on this Shabbat. Let's sing with Leslie and Andrew the blessing, the bracha, for the mitzvah of beginning Shabbos through the lighting of lights.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivonu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat, v'tzivonu
there you go, Steve. Wish each other a Shabbat Shalom, a good Shabbos. You could turn to the camera and acknowledge the people who are streaming. Wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Got some fist bumps happening. It's all good. So Shabbat Shalom and Shabbat wholeness. Let's turn all the way to pages 8 and 9. Feeling a little Akadodi moment coming on. Bringing us the presence of Shabbat. That's Panei Shabbat. I love the teaching. Languages are wonderful, and especially when you kind of search out the idiomatic meanings of things and why idioms are made from certain words. And so Panei Shabbat literally means faces of Shabbat. And it's, the idiom is its presence of Shabbat. And those are, presence of Shabbat is a lovely concept in itself. But then when you actually make it about the face, and even with masks, there's something unique about each human face, each face of all creatures that have a face, right? There's something that there's nobody, even twins, right? You can distinguish between them through their faces. And there's so many teachings about how the face is sort of the lotus of ethics, when we really recognize the face of the other is when we really understand our responsibility, our moral and ethical responsibility to others. It's through recognizing that each individual is precious and deserves to be served, as do we, right, by others, right? It's not a one-way street. So the faces of Shabbat right here are our faces. And, we're kind of the group tonight. We can actually, I see Eileen. I almost didn't, we can see each and every person that's gathered here, literally. We are grateful because it's the faces of Shabbat. It's the people that make Shabbat sacred, right? Shabbat could go on without us even knowing that it's happened. But we took the time to be here, to stream in, and to be able to look at each other's faces and understand there is holiness everywhere. All we have to do is open our eyes and look around. So that's L'chadodi. And it's a little jumpy kind of melody. It's supposed to be a jumpy moment. So you don't have to jump, but we got a couple drums. You can clap your hands, kind of have a little ruach, which is Hebrew for spirit, and koach, which is Hebrew for strength. So let's make up for being just barely a minion and sound like we're multitudes, because we are. Lecha dodi liakat kala yada 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 le Shabbat nekavela lecha dodi liakat kala yada 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad hishmiyanu El Hamiuchad Adonai Echad Ushemo Echad L'Shem U'Tiferet V'Letechila Hey! Le'Echadodi Le'Echad Kala Yadadai 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekavela Le'Echadodi Le'Echad Kala Yadadai 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekavela Likrat Shabbat Lechu V'Necha Ki Mekor Haberacha Meherosh Mikedem Nesucha Sof Maseh B'Machshavat Tefila Hey Lecha Dodi Lecha Kala Yadadai 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekavela Lecha Dodi Lecha Kala Yadadai 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekavela Hitoreri Hiva Ore Kumi Uri second. Okay. This is the verse we stand on and face the door to see the Pnei Shabbat, feel the Pnei Shabbat all around us. Boi v'shalom ater bala gam v'simcha uvezola hatov emunei am sekula boi kala boi kala hey lecha dodi lecha kala yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat mekavela ha 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 lecha dodi lecha kala yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat mekavela ha 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 lecha dodi lecha kala yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat nikavela. Amen. You can stay standing if you're able and turn face back to the east because we're going to call each other to prayer. I've got a different melody, so I wasn't able to print out the words to all of this, but I think you'll catch on. I want to tell you a little bit of a background. We were closed for a year and a half. The only thing that was happening in this building was our early childhood, the nest, and a couple people that stayed and worked in the office. So anyway, so everything was online, including Friday night services and Saturday morning services, and bar and bat mitzvahs, and also religious school. So we had Zoom religious school for a full year and change, again, everything's a trade-off, right? It's nice, it's really wonderful to be back in person. But being on Zoom allowed my oldest adult child, Zoe, to participate in a way they couldn't before and still now can't because we're back in person. And Zoe brought a new melody to the Baruch Hu. Somebody pitched that.
Does anybody know how to turn off the
Oh.
song?
Ha! Wow, we made a match. Ezra, we got your phone. No problem. No problem. So anyway, Zoe introduced, there's a Jewish composer named Noah Aronson who composed this sort of contemporary Baruch Hu, and Zoe would play it every Wednesday at religious school on Zoom. And then this year, we were back in person, Zoe wasn't able to do that in person, so I said, I really just love that melody. I'm gonna kind of keep it going. So I don't think I've ever played it for any service besides our Wednesday religious school service, but it's really lovely, and I'm not sure I'll do this all the time, but I wanted to kind of introduce it to you guys. It's called Am I Awake? And it's got some English, kind of like our version that we sing as we bless the source of life, and then it uses the same melody to go into the actual words of the Baruch Hu. So you'll hear Baruch Hu, and then you can kind of look at the book and follow along. But there's a couple English words that I think are really appropriate for Baruch Hu and calling to prayer, and also for Kabbalat Shabbat, for this notion of receiving the Sabbath, which is what this service is really all about. So here's how it goes. Sorry guys, I didn't mean to spring it on you, but I think
We love it.
yada lie lie lie, 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 yada lie lie lie. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada lie lie lie, 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 yada lie lie lie. It goes like this. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hameod Adonai Hamevorach Le'olam Va'ed Le'olam Va'ed Yadalai Lai Lai 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 Yadalai Lai Lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? See? Yeah, I like that. You know, what does it say in the Psalms? Sometimes you got to sing a new song, right? Something, you know, it helps stir the soul, I think, especially if it's a you know, a melodic song that's inspirational, which I think this one is. So let's turn all the way to page 15 and prepare to recite the Shema. Take just a few moments to get yourself to that place of oneness and unity consciousness, you know. Thank you, Stan. Sure. Just take a few deep breaths, you know. Nishima Amuka is the way we say that in Hebrew, a deep breath. Kind of centering yourself and breathing into your heart, allowing yourself to really, really feel this moment of oneness, of wholeness, of shalom, of echad, you know, that last word of the Shema, but that final letter, Daled, that's not only in our prayer book, but also in the Torah, printed larger than the other letters. So that when we say echad, the tradition is to really emphasize that last Daled, that last letter, to really believe that despite or within all of the differences and diversity and all the people that we will never even meet, you know? There's just too many people that live on this earth that we can't meet them all, and yet somehow we believe that we're connected, even to those people who are vastly different from us, who will never get to see in their face like we get to see it in each other's face. And we have to sort of extrapolate and remember that they too are beings filled with light and the potential to be holy like we are. And so that is our point of connection. And when people we don't know are suffering, you know, when we're really in tune to that oneness, we feel compassion. Someone we've never met, you know, we hear about on the news or we read about on social media. When somebody has something that they're celebrating, we can feel joy for that person, though we might never meet them or lay eyes on them. That's oneness. That's this unity of creation. And it's really a difficult task, actually, because we lead such bifurcated lives. You know, we're on our track, and the people that our circle, we're in our track, and yet that's not what the Shema tells us. The Shema tells us to be expansive, not narrow. If it was easy, we wouldn't have to remind ourselves all the time. It's not easy, and it's not easy for any of us. And yet it's really important. I think it helps bring more harmony into the universe. The more people who are really kind of focused on this unity as opposed to divisiveness, the better off we all are. I really believe that. So it's got to start somewhere. So let it start in this circle that we've created, this Shabbat circle of spirit and love and holiness on this Shabbat. So one more deep breath, give it a real go, deep intentional. And when you're ready, Andrew, Leslie will lead us in a meditative melody for Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Oh, 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 Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Page 18. So it's interesting with Micha Mocha. I hope everybody did have did have meaningful Passover time. What's interesting about Micha Mocha is it kind of brings part of Passover to every Shabbat, right? Because Shabbat is also a time of liberation, or trying to focus on liberation. The rabbis teach you that liberation is one of the themes of Shabbat, of course, because we're liberated from work, right? We're liberated from the routines that take up our week, and then we have this kind of day of freedom. It's, Dror Yikra. There's a Shabbat melody that's called Dror Yikra. It's all about liberation. So there's an element of liberation in Shabbat, and we also have Micha Mocha at every Shabbat service. This blessing after the Shema about redemption, and it takes us back to the Passover story, to Exodus. But it does something interesting. It brings us to that point of freedom, right? That's what Micha Mocha celebrates. That's when Miriam dance at the shore of the sea with timbrels. That's what we get on Shabbat, which is lovely. What Passover does is it doesn't allow us to get away with just half of the story. We also have to be slaves on Passover. We can't just say we're, avadim hayinu atah b'nei chorin. On Shabbat we get atah b'nei chorin. We're free. But on Passover we have to also go through oppression and slavery, and really remind ourselves of that empathy that we're supposed to cultivate on Passover, because we were slaves, and therefore whoever isn't free and whoever needs liberation, that's whose side we have to be on every time, every single time. So we did that this Passover. I think we all did that. We do that, in different ways through our lives as well, not just during the holiday. I mean, certainly COVID was a form of that, and every time we're in mourning, and certainly all of the times where we feel less than or made to be less than, that's a time of Avadim Hayinu. But in Passover, we really dive into that story. And then we get Atah b'nei Chorin. And that's what we have on this Shabbat near the end of Passover. We are free, like the Hebrews, former slaves who danced at the shore of the sea to this song. We're told that they were an Erev Rav, really important. Just mentioned one time in the Torah, right here, that an Erev Rav escaped slavery. What does Erev Rav mean? A mixed multitude, a group of people who took advantage of the opportunity to be free from different nations and different traditions and different races and different cultures, different everything, genders. And they all went into freedom together. And that's who became Israel, the people Israel, right? And that's who we still are. We're an Erev Rav. We come from a lot of different places, a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different walks of life. And yet, we're a people with a purpose, united to celebrate our freedom, but never forget our slavery, because until all people are free, none of us are really, truly free. And now we're recharged from Passover, ready to go forth and keep singing these songs of freedom. Mika Mocha, page 18. Siya Hamba, page 19. That's all right.
Kamocha, Payalim Adonai, mi kamocha, Neda Bakodesh, mi kamocha, Payalim Adonai, mi kamocha, Neda Bakodesh, Nurati Rot, Osefile, Nurati Rot, Osefile, Malchutecha Uvanecha Bukei Hayam, Lifnei Moshe, Malchutecha Uvanecha Bukei Hayam, Lifnei Miriam, Zeli Anu, Adonai Imloch Leolam Vaed, 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 Adonai Imloch Leolam Vaed. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מהחזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גר ישראל. Siya hamba kukanyan cuencos, siya hamba kukanyan cuencos, siya hamba kukanyan cuencos, siya hamba kukanyan cuencos, siya hamba, siya hamba, siya hamba kukanyan cuencos, siya hamba, siya hamba, oh siya hamba kukanyan cuencos. We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching. We are marching. We are marching. Ooh, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching. We are marching. Ooh, we are marching in the light of God. We come Chabayim Adonai, Mi Kamo Kaneda Bakodesh. Mi Kamo Chabayim Adonai, Mi Kamo Kaneda Bakodesh.
Page 20. So there's one blessing we haven't said yet that we're supposed to say right around this time. Yeah, evening, sunset. Only for a few weeks out of the year. So some blessings, like the candle lighting blessings are weekly. Some are just occasional, Some are once a year. This particular blessing is used 49 times. The counting of the Omer, which happens starting the second night of Passover, which was Saturday night. And the tradition is that each evening you consciously count the number of days. So up to 49, and then the next day, the 50th day, is the holiday of Shavuot. This counting connects Passover to Shavuot. It connects spring to summer. It connects, looking at my friend Karen, the time of planting to the time of the first growth. It really is true, isn't it? Yeah. Because we have our garden, our farm, we actually see that stuff. We see the planting in the spring and then the first evidence that what you planted is going to grow in the summer. Now, not this year. This is our sabbatical Shemitah year, letting the land grow fallow. Somebody was saying how awesome the cover plants look. It really came out nice, really kind of. So we're hoping that there's renewal and enriching of the soil, but still in all, spring is planting and summer is first growth. The Omer also connects those 49 days, the Passover theme of freedom, with the Shavuot theme of responsibility, right? Because Shavuot is the 10 Commandments, the Torah, the idea that with freedom comes our responsibility, our ethical responsibility. So this is a really this is a mitzvah that's sort of filled with consciousness. It also teaches us that when we count our days, it helps us make our days count. Each day counted out loud. So we're going to do that before we launch into Hashkivenu. And every Friday night that I'm here, we'll count the appropriate day of the Omer. I know Rabbi Susan and Rabbi Jim are doing a daily Omer broadcast, kind of connecting it with the Song of Songs, which is lovely. Nowadays, your phones, you can get and count in the Omer app. That's a true thing. Paul, you got it? Yeah, I figured. All right, so this is day 7, starting just about now. So let's say the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sifirat ha'omer. Blessed is the Holy One whose presence fills creation, where we learn mitzvahs, sacred deeds that fill our lives with meaning and purpose, including this mitzvah of counting each day from the second day of Passover to right before Shavuot, this being the 7th day of our counting. It's also Shabbat, the 7th day, which doesn't always happen every year, but it's kind of nice when it does. All right, I hope that helps our night even a little more. that we did that obligation. Take this soul, living in my skin and bones. Take this soul and let it sing. Yahweh, Yahweh, always pain before a child is born. Yahweh, Yahweh, it's always dark before the dawn. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. In shalom. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. All right, y'all. On behalf of everybody, on behalf of this moment of redemption, wrapped in redemption, the possibilities of possibility for faith and hope and promise. Everything's gonna be all right. 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 Sing it for yourself. Everything's gonna be all right. Sing it for your loved ones. Everything's gonna be all right. Sing it for all who are vulnerable. Be all right. Sing it for the oppressed. Things gonna be all right. Sing it for the world. Everything's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be all right. Ufros aleinu Sukkot, Sukkot shlomecha. Ufros aleinu Sukkot shlomecha, and cover over us tonight with a Sukkot shalom, a shelter of peace for you, for those you love. A Sukkot shalom for all creation, for everyone and everything that dwells on earth. May this night, starting the seventh day of our counting period, may this night be filled with peace, with shalom. Amen. Here we go. All right, let's go over to page 23, and stand if you so desire. We'll do a little opening here from the psalm, another psalm. The psalm of opening, tiftach, patach, like that open tent we learn about in the Torah, that all of our tents should be open, our hearts, our minds, our arms, right? Psalm of openness. And then just a few minutes of silent meditation, prayer, or reflection. You can look through the pages of the Siddur, the prayer book, or whatever deep prayers or longings you want to express on your own. And then have a seat when you're done with your silent time, and when we're all together again, we'll sing another prayer for peace. cannot have too many prayers for peace. So, we are on page 23. Adonai sifatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai. Sorry. Adonai. There's that chord. Sifatai tiftach. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Sifatai tiftach. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Sifatai tiftach. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Sifatai tiftach. Adonai, sifatai tiftach. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Thanks for our percussion corps, Andrew and Kat and Liz. That sounded really nice. Thanks for bringing a joyful noise into our prayer moment. We're going to turn to page 30. So, we get, I know, at least speaking for myself, you get overwhelmed by violence. Even to the point of, and you have to resist it, but getting numb to it. There's so much violence, all kinds of violence, right? But, all you have to do is go to our Oneg room and see this exhibit, the Faces Not Forgotten, and those are all young people, victims of gun violence. again, the faces, right? I mean, like, those faces, each one of them is as unique and beautiful, holy as ours, and all the ones we've talked about, and yet lives cut short because of this lack of peace, of shalom, of wholeness. And of course, it just spirals from there. And there are places in the world we don't even know about where there's rampant violence, but we do know about some of the places that it's hard to come to a prayer for peace when we know that this awful war, which is becoming more than a war, these acts of atrocity there's never really a reason, it's all rationalization, but really here without any purpose or any sort of guiding principle or ethics, just awful violence in Ukraine, and just seems to get worse. There was a time at the beginning, there was a hope that there'd be an ending and it'll get better, and certainly we still have to hope for that. But in the meantime, all these, I have this prayer here that was in my Siddur from the Friday night right after the invasion of Ukraine, and I don't even know how many weeks ago that was. A couple. So what can we do? We can pray for peace. We can direct our hearts, minds, and souls to peace. We can become peacemakers in whatever way that makes sense to us. We can support victims of aggression and war and violence. We can envision a time where that violence, I don't know if we'll ever do away with it. The Torah tells us, poverty will always be with us, but that doesn't stop us from trying to respond to poverty, right? Trying to address it. So maybe violence will always be with us, but that doesn't mean we can't reduce it, limit it, do what we can to make things better. And in that far-off place, according to our tradition, you got to be a realist and an optimist all at the same time. And that far-off place on Friday night in the evening service, we have Shalom Rav. Not just Shalom, but a great peace. May we get closer to it, here, there, and everywhere. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasi Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasi Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech Adon, L'chol ha-shalom, ki ata hu melech Adon, L'chol ha-shalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasi Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasi Le'olam. V'tov ve'anecha liveren et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasi Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasi Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasi Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasi Le'olam. Tasi Le'olam. tasi leolam. Amen. So I really am glad that at the end of Passover, we got this sort of, it shot up into the 70s and 80s. I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't think it's supposed to last very long. But it'll come back around, you know. For lots of reasons, because it was nice to get outside and without a coat and you feel comfortable, and I hope people were able to do that. And also, you know, this whole, one of the things about there's so much, Passover is so rich. It's like really multi-layered, and you think you need more than a week to kind of really dig in there. Because one of the things that is sort of forgotten, I think, sometimes about Passover is the role of the Song of Songs, right? Because every holiday, not every holiday, many holidays have Megillot, corresponding texts, not from the Torah, and not from the Haftorah, not from the prophets like the Haftorahs, but from the book of Chituvim, the books of the writings, which are the miscellaneous part of the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, right? Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, Chituvim. So a number of holidays have Chituvim books attached to them, and we call them Megillah because they can come in a scroll. The most famous Megillah, of course, is the book of Esther, which is a book of Esther in the Bible, but a Megillah for Purim, right? But the Megillah for Passover is the Song of Songs. And the Song of Songs is really just a beautiful, if you ever want to just kind of read a book of the Bible, I would recommend the Song of Songs, right? Love poetry, and it's all filled with nature. Rabbi Waskow calls it Eden for grown-ups, right? Because we had the Garden of Eden where everything was very structured and there was rules, and God was saying, don't do this and do that. And the garden, the Song of Songs, is just flowing with nature and mutuality, and the man isn't in charge of the woman, right? That everybody's just sort of interlinked. Annika, you can go. You're free. It's Passover. Go. Nice for you to. Thanks for being here. Everyone say bye, Annika. Shabbat shalom. So anyway, so that, you know, one really interesting fact with the Song of Songs, when the Bible was being canonized, there was the Sanhedrin, these sort of proto-rabbis who were trying to decide which books would go into the Bible, because there were lots of contemporaneous books. Not all of them made it into the Bible, right? So there's some books actually that are part of the New Testament version of the Old Testament that weren't canonized, weren't included in the Hebrew Bible, but they could have been. They were around, like the book of Jubilees is one of them, the book of Maccabees. Anyway, so the famous story about the Song of Songs is that they were arguing. There was an argument whether the Song of Songs should be included in the Bible. Forget about the Megillah for Passover, just in the Bible. And there was one sort of faction that said, no way, it's too sensual, it's too sexual. People sing it to each other in bars. That's like literally in the Talmud. They sing it to each other in bars. It's alluring, right? And then another faction said, well, that's exactly why we should canonize it, because once we put it in the Bible, they'll stop singing it in the bars. It's a great story, right? But whether it's true or not, but it's a great story. So the Song of Songs, because of this warm weather, it brought back to me the role of the Song of Songs. And of course, I said Rabbi Susan, Rabbi Jim are including the Song of Songs in their Count of the Omer broadcasts. But boy, it's a day like this really sort of reminds you of that Eden for grown-ups, of that possibility of really just sort of enjoying with it, because we've internalized godliness. We don't need God above us like in Genesis telling us what to do and what not to do. By the time of the Song of Songs, we've hopefully internalized godliness, and we know how to do the right thing. And we don't need that voice all the time, because we just effortlessly live it, and we love and we enjoy creation. We don't exploit it, right? But we just enjoy it. So that's my little mini teaching as we kind of exit from Passover. But let's sing a healing prayer. I think it's important, and I want to make sure that everybody who has come here to pray for somebody, and people that are watching the stream who want to pray for people can add their prayers. So our Misha Berach for Friday night is on page 34. And I'll just ask for names. Anyone in your life would yeah, please, Liz.
Scheduled to go for an MRI finally on the 2nd of May.
Fingers crossed, our hearts open. We love you, Paul. So, whatever you need, including our prayers, you got it. That's for sure. You do so much for so many people. So you have our prayers. Any other names? Yeah, Karen. For Bear. I was thinking about Bear. Bear, who's out of the hospital and in rehab. So, hopefully he'll be back benching it with his new back soon, right? Yes, Dan. Do you have a name, or are you just kind of hanging out? Okay. Any other healing prayer names? Autumn, any names on the stream?
Yes, we have Lisa, Gabby, Chris, and Asiana.
Thank
and
you.
Rick Miller and David Koskowitz.
Oh, yeah, David. Yeah, David. And also Robert Fishbone, who's recovering from a outpatient surgery. What's that? For Rick Isserman. Actually, Rick texts me Shabbat Shalom every Friday. Do you get one too? I got my Shabbat Shalom text, and so we're sending Rick our prayers. We have a whole list of people that we're keeping in our prayers. Jill Hollefeld is on the list, and Mary Holtz, and Lois Loomstein, of course. Gloria Lash, who was a Friday night regular pre-COVID and is recovering from surgery. So let's open our hearts, all people who are in mourning, people who are lonely, and we say who need healing, not only body, but then that's important, but also mind and spirit. For a complete healing, a refuah shlema. We got to pray for that until it can't happen. We don't really pray for cures because we leave that to the medical professionals, but we do pray for healing, which can take many shapes and many forms. But the highest form we hope for is a complete healing. And let's sing our healing prayer.
Mishaberach Avotenu
Mikor
Habracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mikor Habracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. For the ones we love, for all who are suffering in need of healing, the Chatimah, we say together, Baruch Atah Adonai Rofei HaCholim. Blessed is the Holy One who teaches us to be angels and agents of healing for all those who need refuah shlema. Amen. So a few announcements for the group that's here and for the group that's streaming. Shabbat continues tomorrow morning. We do have a B'nai Mitzvah. So generally B'nai Mitzvah in the tradition is when two people have a bar mitzvah, but this B'nai Mitzvah tomorrow is because the wonderful young person who grew up at CRC uses plural, they and them pronouns, and so they decided to call it a B'nai Mitzvah, right? So one person, their name is Lex, and Lex grew up at CRC, and I think many people know and will recognize their family. So come on out if you want, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Our first
B'nai Mitzvah lunch since before COVID, is tomorrow. So, it used to be very, very standard procedure that especially after a B'nai Mitzvah, the family would sort of have a lunch for the congregation. We had to stop doing that, and starting at the second Seder, we started having meals again. We're hoping, we think we can do that safely. You're more than welcome to come back if you want. Those folks that are streaming, come be part of our community. Lex DeGuire becomes B'nai Mitzvah tomorrow morning. Then, as always, lots going on.
We have a 4 o'clock too.
True. Yes. Yeah. It's true. Thank you. There's also a bat mitzvah at 4 o'clock as well. So what I wanted to tell everyone was, since we're talking about Friday night group here, I'm personally inviting you to come back for sure 2 weeks from tonight, which I believe is May 7th, for confirmation services. So in 2020, confirmation was all Zoom. Actually, 2020. In 2021, we actually were in person, but outside, right? And now we're going to be back in here. For a great confirmation class. This is 10th graders. Our 9th grade families are going to bring baked goodies for our own eggs. Starting next Friday, we're going to start having food again on Friday evening after services. So maybe this group will double. So maybe you guys are the hardcore purists. We don't need any food. We got food for our souls. But will there be chocolate? Yes, for you, Eileen, there will be chocolate. Anyway, and so that's next week, but then in 2 weeks is confirmation. Come on out. It's a really sweet confirmation. It's this has been a small, it's funny how there's sort of years where we have huge classes and years where they're smaller, it's all about, how many babies came. So this is a 7 confirmation class, 7 young people. They're so awesome. I've had so much fun with them all year. So come and celebrate them. They all write their own personal statements. Really great service. Let's see. I've already mentioned Counting the Omer, Rabbi Susan, Rabbi Jim, streaming every day at 9:30 except for Saturdays, Shabbats. We are having 2 adult B'nai Mitzvah interest meetings. It's been Karen was part of the last cohort of adult B'nai Mitzvah. Was that? See? And Bear was as well. So we're going to meet with folks that are interested in having, it takes a while. It's kind of a couple-year process. But this Wednesday, April 27th at 6:30. And if evenings aren't as good for you as afternoons, we'll also have the same meeting, so you don't have to come twice, on Thursday, April 28th at noon. Wednesday, April 27th at 6:30. Thursday, April 28th at noon. Let's see. I think... I'm supposed to announce that the Gun Violence Havara is collecting items for the Bullet-Related Injury Clinic, BRIC. We are collecting medical items such as new and gently used supportive devices, mobility aids, prefabricated splints, and medical supplements. Items can be bought to CRC for the entire length of the Faces Not Forgotten exhibit, which is out there. So if you have any of those things the next time you're in the building, bring them on. Lots of adult education classes and opportunities to serve in terms of Tikkun Olam. One more, since I already mentioned May 7th, let me say May 8th, I believe, is the next day, which is Shabbat, Saturday. After that confirmation service, really lots going on that day. So number one, all of the students who had their B'nai Mitzvot, their Bar and Bat Mitzvahs, B'nai Mitzvahs, from home during COVID, right? Where the rabbis were at their homes, the students were at their home, and everyone watching was at theirs. We're bringing them here, right? Anyone that wants, so we're going to give them a blessing on the bima. They're going to have an in-person aliyah. Something I've really wanted to do ever since we shut down is honor those young people, because they were awesome, but it was different. It's a different experience. I want to bring them to the synagogue and kind of have them up by the Torah, and as a group, we'll give them a blessing. Then what's that? May 8th. Unless I'm getting the dates wrong. Is that a Saturday?
That's a Saturday or no?
Yeah. Oh, so 7th. So May 6th is confirmation. May 7th is when we're going to bless all the kids. And also, it's the last day of religious school. So we'll have the whole school come in. We'll give them a blessing at the end. And then we're going to have a picnic. Bring your own picnic. And we're going to meet the Husseini family. the family that CRC has been supporting from Afghanistan, refugee family. So, because they wanted to meet the congregation, and the congregation wants to meet them. So all those things are happening on May 7th. If you're inclined to show up on a Saturday, that would be a good one to show up at. Okay? Any other CRC-related announcements I did not remember to announce? Autumn, we good? Okay. So let's transition to Kaddish so that we honor our loved ones who've passed away at this time and during this past year. I'm going to stand up. You guys can stay for sitting for now, but I want to stand up for this and ask anyone who's here in the congregation to say Kaddish to stand. So I can call on you, and we can hear the name and names of your loved ones. So we'll start with Paul. Renee Deal. Yeah, I really thought about her on Passover at the second Seder. There was all those years that she helped prepare the second Seder, and big loss. Thank you. Steve.
Of course, Renee, she was also a classmate of mine.
Oh my
Went to
gosh.
high school, you're behind me. My aunt, Mert, up in Waterville, Maine, and I guess it's sort of a generational time of things happening, but just lost this past week my mother's first cousin up in Skokie, Illinois.
Oh,
The Pepper side of the family is a huge family all over the United
Yeah.
States, and Dean Pepper just passed away.
Oh,
On Tuesday in Chicago, and then they had family plots in Denver, and the burial is in Terminal.
so sorry for your loss and for your whole family.
Thanks.
And Karen,
For my sister Mary.
give us a word about Mary, because she was such an amazing force.
She came out in the 80s when it was really hard.
Yeah.
Never had a life partner by the name of Beth. And she, it's hard for her to do that. She turned that moment of real challenge into a way of life, bringing compassion and love through her work, and just loved life.
Amen. How many years now, Karen?
5.
5 years. Zikrona Livracha. Thank you. Autumn, names?
Yes, we have Norma Jean Hansen, who died 3 years ago. It's the yard side of Deborah Hill, and Max Stout.
Thank you. So we can stand together for Kaddish and be, attentive and honoring of our loved ones. Did I miss any names in the kahal in the congregation?
I want to
Yeah.
mention my friend Michael Calkins, who died of AIDS maybe about 20 years ago. It's not his yard side, but he would have been 74 today. It's
His birthday, yeah, that's appropriate for sure. Let me add some names. Just most recently, George Newman, Susan Newman's husband. There'll be a funeral for George here on Monday. Robert Wolfsey, who was Carol Wolfsey's father and Dan's father-in-law. Francis Ilovicki, actually, this is one of those stories. We have a wonderful family, the Ilovicki family. Howie Ilovicki raised his 3 kids here. His father passed away in Florida, and the whole family went down for the funeral. And a week later, his mother passed away. Then went back to the funeral. We had a shiva in St. Louis last week for both Howie's mom and Howie's dad, Martin and Francis Ilovicki. May their memories be a blessing. Also, we're remembering Eva Poteet, who was Thena's mother, and Barbara Woodruff, who was one of Philip Deitch's cousins. Mentioned Renee and Al Baker and Faye Zimmerman. Remembering also Rabbi Karen's grandmother Mimi and Phyllis Leventhal, Aubrey Yawitz, Nancy's father and Carol Don's father. Elaine Siegel, a friend of Gail Wexler, and our member Shirley Potisha. For Richard Bushman and Dorothy Silverberg and Babette Young. For Art Lash, Gloria's husband. We mentioned Gloria for healing prayers. And Selena Green and Paige Powers, who was Rabbi Karen's cousin, and Rabbi Karen is actually on her way to Memphis for the memorial service for Dr. Powers, her cousin. Our member Susan Carlson. For Stan Frager, the brother of Maris Berg, and Ann Wooten, Terrell's mom. And Michael Huxley, Lisa's brother. For Ruth Gustorf and Nina Levine, Nina, a young woman, daughter of Bobby. For Kyle Courier, Kyle's son Noah was here at the second Seder. Wonderful, wonderful person. Gone too soon. Samuel Nussbaum and Beatrice Daniel, Hillary Englehart's mother and Steve's mother-in-law. Judy Hunter, who was Tim Hunter's mother and Robin's mother-in-law. Linda Holtzman. Alex Holtzman McGrath was at the second Seder as well, and his mom passed away in this past year. Joan Zucker, Joe Espin's grandmother and mother of the late Susie Espin. For Karen Margot, our member, and Judge Roberta Hitt and Andy Neiman, Laney's wonderful son. Ed Lander, Vicky's father, and actually one of Vicky's grandsons having a bar mitzvah a week from Saturday, Isaac, who's also the grandson of Jack Oglander, of blessed memory. For Raphael Berger, Mike Berger's father, and Gail Hollifield, Jill's mother. The yard site coming up in just a few days. Speaking of yard sites, we also are observing a few yard sites this weekend. Mary Flotty's name is right here, Karen, as well as Daniel Perlman and Henry Weinstock, Barry Weiser, and Deborah Hill. Actually, I think that name was into the chat. Harold Broad. I just saw Jessica Milner just this very day at Schnucks, and this is her grandfather, Harold. Sam Kaplan and Anna Lesser, Patricia Malloy and Irving Sentnor, Dave's grandpa. Lee Chazen, wonderful Lee Chazen, Lauren's husband, and Marion Cohen. Sandra Feinstein, who was Rabbi Jim's aunt, this is her yard site. Eileen Lieberman and Beth Oliver, and Morris Oliver and Joyce Peterman. Also the yard site of David Curry, a member of CRC, Janet's husband. Inga Goldberg, who was Marion Rosen's mother-in-law and Jonathan's stepmother. This is her yard site. Norma Halperin, Stuart's mom. That yard site is coming up. And as I said, Gail Hollifield later in the week. All of those good people, all of those people, all those faces, all of those names, we remember them all, including all who died without having anyone to say Kaddish for them, all who've died in wars around the globe and in violence in our midst. We think of them all.
They've discovered all these mass graves in Ukraine now.
Yeah. So we try to put our arms around all of those wonderful souls whose shoulders we stand upon. So on pages 41 and 42, we honor them by stopping everything and saying these sacred words. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah be'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chai echon v'yom echon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael v'galal v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mivarach le'olam olmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha v'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav Yaseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen ve'imeru amen ve'imeru amen.
Zikronam livracha, may all of their memories be an eternal blessing. Amen. So if you're keeping Pesach, I hope that your first indulgence into bread with ego. We call matzah the bread without ego, right? We have to like kind of internalize that for a while, and before we can get back to bread. I hope your re-entry to bread is satisfying and balanced by the knowledge that we were slaves, and that desert bread kind of helps balance out. Next week we'll actually say motzi and kiddush at the end of Friday night service because we will have an oneg out there. But for now, no matter what, even when we are just online, even when there's a group we can actually put our arms around, literally, we don't leave each other's company without putting our arms over one another and giving each other this blessing. This blessing from the Torah. And thanks to everyone that came. Thanks to everyone that streamed. I'll sing after the blessing. You can leave while we sing, and if our drummers want to stay and kind of continue making their beautiful noise, you're more than welcome to do that. Appreciate that. Appreciate Leslie and Andrew, all my heart and soul. This is how we do Shabbat, is we sing into our soul, we sing into our heart, and we sing to the world, right? So, the blessing. Yivrechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless and keep each and every single one of you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. And may you be surrounded by light. May you be filled with light. The light of goodness and sweetness and healing, and the light of inspiration and the light of love. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. And may this moment of wholeness, of Shabbat, of togetherness, of community, may this moment kind of be replicated in all parts of your life, right? May we have shalom, wholeness in our community. May you have it in your homes. May we have it in the streets of our city, in our nation, and in the world. May all of the moments of wholeness and shalom find its way to bring shalom to all. Let it start now, and let us say amen. And Shabbat shalom. And here we go, a little joyful noise unto the Lord, as it says in the book of Psalms.